Next, let's take a look at the audio hardware preferences, things you'll need to know before you can record and play back audio. This is right here an important setting that you will want to take a look at to allow Soundbooth to use whatever it is that you are using for your audio hardware. And right now, I'm running this on a MacBook Pro, so I'm just going to use the built-in output and the built-in input, the built-in microphone, to do our recording for when we start doing that a little bit later on. So Soundbooth is just playing through the default hardware in the system itself. If you have some better quality hardware that you want to use, you can certainly do that. That would be third-party hardware. And in fact, I do have a Mark of the Unicorn Firewire interface on this system as well, and you'll see that if I choose that, because that has multiple outputs, this enables the surround settings here as well. The built-in hardware is only stereo, so when you choose the stereo settings, and sometimes it takes a little bit of time for that to switch back and forth, as you just saw. When you choose the built-in settings, which only have stereo in and out, we only have left and right enabled here. When I go back to my multiple output interface, I can now assign to any of the available outputs, of which there are many on this particular interface, to any of these particular surround settings. I'm going to go back, as I said, to my built-in input-output, and again, it takes a little bit of time to switch over there. And these settings here will open up the standard audio MIDI setup in the Mac OS, and if you're working on a Windows system, this will be for whatever drivers you have installed for your hardware, and this allows you to configure things like the sample rate and what you're going to be using as your input source and so forth. So we'll close that out. And the only other thing here, I believe this only shows up on Macintosh systems, but this allows you to set what's called a buffer size, and you generally want to have that as low as possible without causing any kind of distortion or breakup. It just makes for cleaner playback, faster playback. In Windows, that's kind of handled automatically. And the last thing in here is continue audio playback and background. If you are switching between applications and playing audio in Soundbooth as you're doing so, this will allow you to continue hearing the audio output in the background while you're doing that. You may or may not want that depending on what the other programs are that you're switching to. If those are audio programs, you might get some confusion there about what's actually playing. So there are times when you may want to turn that off. Or, of course, simply stop the playback in Soundbooth before you switch to the other program. Now we're going to move on to our last preference chapter and take a look at the media and briefly the metadata preferences.